everyone, and today we are going to discuss about Cnidaria. Cnidaria are basically the primitive organisms. These are a bit complex than the Porifera. These are having these are diploblastic, as we have previously been known that these are diploblastic organisms. These are eumetazo, first eumetazo, and these are the organisms in which the nervous system was first evolved or first seen. So these are the animals in which first the nervous system was seen, apart from which they are radially symmetrical. They are radiata, group belong to group radiata, great radiata, apart from which they are not having anterior, posterior, left, right. They are only having um, top and bottom side. Apart from which general characteristics, they all live in aquatic environment, mostly in marine, while they live in fresh water as well, such as hydra lives in fresh water. They are sessile as well as motile. um, Organisms such as hydra are sessile, mostly they are sessile, such as hydra, these are sessile, while when it comes to other organisms such as jellyfish, they are motile. They range in size from microscopic, such as hydra is microscopic, to jellyfish which is 2 meter long. So this is the size of motile and sessile. Apart from which, when it comes to their other characteristics, they are having a single hollow cavity which is supposed to function as a body wall, as well as the vascular cavity, or the digestive vascular cavity known as gastrovascular cavity, or coelenterate coelenteron. Due to the presence of coelenteron inside them, they are known as coelenterate. Apart from which, they have another special characteristic, that they contain numerous stinging cells. They are having mouth. They are having a single mouth through which ingestion as well as egestion takes place within the gastrovascular cavity, as well as over that mouth generally there are tentacles connected, and over those tentacles there is a presence of numerous stinging cells called as cnidocytes, also known as nematocytes. Now Hydra is named, sorry, not Hydra, but Cnidaria generally is named as Cnidarian because they contain the special stinging cells known as cnidocytes. Now, cnidocytes have a special cell organelle known as cnidocyst, and that cnidocyst is basically supposed to eject poison to paralyze or kill their prey. And cnidocyst is having is a characteristic feature of Cnidarians. It is the cell characteristic feature of Cnidarians. Apart from which, when it comes to another part, they are having three layers ectoderm. They are having their diploblastic two layers, one non-cellular layer, mesoglia, 80% water and 20% globular protein is there, and gastrodermis, endodermis, epidermis, ectodermis is there. Apart from which, their mouth, anus is this, they are having mouth which acts as anus as well. They lack anus in actual. Apart from which, they are having other general characteristics, that they are having two body types. They are having two body types, which includes the polyp and medusae. Polyp and medusae. What does this mean here? So due to which these are polyp and medusae. Now here the term polyps are having two characteristics. Let me just first discuss the polyp. Polyp are basically a sedentary. These are sedentary. These are sedentary cnidarians. Examples of sedentary, which means sessile. These are not moving, sessile, sedentary. Apart from which, these are having their tentacles, and mouth on the upward side. They are having their tentacles on mouth on the upward side. Apart from which, um, having their tentacles and mouths on the upward side, and these are generally related with nutrition. They're generally related with nutrition, which means they usually work together with other cnidarians such as medusae within their colony in order to provide nutrition to other cnidarians. In that case, these are nutritive. Polyps are nutritive, or we can also call them nutritive polyp zoids. Why do we call them zoids? Zoids are basically individual units. Zoids are units of colonies. Zoids are units of colonies which are formed by the Cnidarians. In that case, these colonies involves colonies of polyp, colonies of medusae, which work together, physically attached to which with each other in order to perform several functions. Even though they are different in structure, shape, they perform carry out individual functions together in order to support each other. For example, when it comes to polyp, polyp provides nutrition, while on the other hand side medusae provides reproduction. In that case, both of these work together in a colony, and this type of cooperation, working together, is known as polymorphism. While inside a polymorphic environment, um, we usually consider polyp to having digestion, also nutrition, and medusae to be having reproduction. And here on the other hand side, polyp are having characteristic as to be asexual. Medusae are basically motile. These are motile, free swarming, free swimming, and apart from this, these are reproductive. These are having all of the necessary characteristics possessed by Cnidarians. All characteristics of Cnidarians. All necessary characteristics of Cnidarians. Apart from which, uh, they are sexual, and apart from this we are having some other key points, some examples, that polyp having example of hydra, medusae medusae having examples medusae is having example of jellyfish. Jellyfish is 95% water, and it is having no brain, blood, or nervous system. Good point to discuss here, that inside the Cnidarians there is no nervous system. Instead of nervous system, there is a presence. There is a nervous system which is diffuse nervous system. Diffuse nervous system, which means they are not having a proper nervous system. They are only having some neurons, some nerve cells, which are combined together in a network known as nerve network or neuron network, which is known as diffuse nervous system. Rest in jellyfish, even that is not present. And apart from this, when it comes to some other parts, they also contain contractile tissues. They are not contractile tissues which act like muscles, but in actual these are not muscles. These are contractile tissues. Apart from which, when it comes to the reproduction is of two types: sexual, asexual. Asexual consists of budding in which buddings are formed and then budding separately grow as an organism, and regeneration, in which the part tissue of the Cnidarians is cut and then individually grows as an organism. Third is sexual reproduction, in which sperms and eggs combine together, male female gametes combine together in order to form zygote. Then embryo is formed, and then larva is formed. That larva is free swimming, free living, free swimming, and motile. That is free living, free swimming, motile. Uh, and that is formed as a result of external fertilization, which means the eggs and sperms are fused together in an external environment outside the body of Cnidarians. Apart from which, the fertilization is cross fertilization. Usually, the Cnidarians which contain the sexual reproductive organs are hermaphrodites, usually, but there are exceptions as well. Hermaphrodites. Apart from which, there are other things such as they're having sac-like digestion. They're not having particular transport system. They're not having respiratory system. All is done with the help of diffusion within their body cavity, gastrovasticular cavity. Apart from which, their excretion is also done through diffusion. And digestive system, its sac-like digestion is studied by us in previous topics during sac-like digestion in Hydra. And apart from this, nido they are also having a characteristic known as nidoblast. They are having nidoblasts, also known as nematoblasts, which basically form the nidocytes. Apart from which, we are also having characteristics of apart from which we are also having some other characteristics of Darians, such as they are having all of them are carnivores. That is why they are having the nidocytes in order to paralyze or kill their prey. Apart from which, they are um, there are some key facts about the Nidarians. That here some of the Cnidarians also live in colony organizations such as Obelia. Obelia is basically having three zooids, three units of colony. So first includes the hydrant, hydrant, hydrant. It is basically a prof. It is basically a polyp structure. It is basically a polyp, or we can say polyp stage of Obelia. It is a polyp stage of Obelia hydrant, apart from which there is blasto style, which is basically the asexual reproductive stage. And thirdly, third type of zooid present here is the medusae. Medusae is basically the sexually reproductive stage, reproductive zooid of Obelia. Apart from which, Obelia generally contains the polyp and medusae. Polyp nutritive, medusae as reproductive. These two are belong to the medusae. These two belong, and then hydrants belong to the polyp. Apart from which, the rest of the structure is quite simple, and in this case the medusae are having their an umbrella like shape, polypi are having cylinder shape. This is all about today's video. Hopefully we meet again.